They have a saying in Asgard, where there are Loki episodes, Marvel Easter eggs are near. Hello and welcome to Screen Rant. I'm Greg Elliott, and episode 2 of Loki, titled The Variant, sends the god of mischief into the field and somebody is manipulating somebody, although we're not entirely sure who yet. And as expected, this ep has some fascinating connections to the comics and the MCU, from Thor Ragnarok to the home of Thanos himself. So let's dive right into all the Marvel references, callbacks, and Easter eggs we found in the second episode of Loki.
What happens when a Nexus event branches past Redline?
It's when the TVA can no longer reset a Nexus event.
Right, and that would lead to the destruction of the timeline and the collapse of reality as we know it.
We start out at a Renaissance fair in 1980's Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which might feel random, but the original comic design for Mobius was actually based on the late Marvel writer and editor Mark Gruenwald, who also created US Agent and just so happened to be born in Oshkosh. There's also a Dragonfly armory at the fair, which could be a nod to the Marvel villain Dragonfly, but is probably just something they picked for sounding vaguely medieval. But before they get to the fair though, B-15 and Mobius hold a briefing on variant Lokis, where we see a proper frost giant Loki, one that apparently won the Tour de France, a Minotaur Loki, a green onesie guru Loki, and lastly, a Viking Loki that looks just like the one from the Mighty Thor Volume 3 comic run.
Let me park you at this desk, and don't be afraid to really lean into this work. Pretend your life depends on it. I'm gonna get a snack.
After Mobius assigns Loki to library duty, there's a pretty clear 372 visible in the background, and while this could mean anything, it's likely a nod to issue 372 of Thor, in which the TVA's Justice Peace plays a big role and even appears on the cover. And since the show is made by Disney, it shouldn't be too big of a surprise that the library receptionist looks a lot like the one from Monsters, Inc., right down to the distinctive shape of her eyewear. The files Loki picks up directly refer to the events of Thor Ragnarok, including the destruction of Asgard and the Revengers, and Loki later name-drops Surtur and enjoys the idea of pushing Hulk off the Rainbow Bridge. And alongside some more Josta Cola, we also see another blast from the past drink in the cafeteria, a box of Boku, a juice brand that was sold in the US from 1990 to 2003.
Boku fruit juice cooler from McCain. Is that too much to ask?
This episode features the line from the trailer where Mobius tells Loki he's literally stabbed like 50 people in the back, and while most of these thankfully happened off-screen, in the Avengers Loki did famously kill Agent Coulson in exactly that way. And when Loki and the TVA travel to 2050 Alabama, they find themselves at a Roxcart shopping center, which has to be related to the Roxxon Corporation, an energy company that first showed up in Captain America number 180 in 1974 and has been confirmed to exist in the MCU via the Iron Man films. And apparently in 2050 Alabama, you'll find snowboards right next to ladders and hairspray, in case you were looking.
I could use a qualified lieutenant.
And I assume you mean me.
What say you, Loki?
Ugh, don't call me that.
In his fight with the other Loki, our Loki gets thrown across the floor and ends up in a shot and pose identical to the one in Thor Ragnarok after he falls through Doctor Strange's portal. And it's then revealed that the big bad variant Loki of the show is a Lady Loki, a version of the character that debuted in the comics in 2008. But she may not be Lady Loki at all, as the foreign language credits name her as Sylvie, which, if we're still going by the comics, may very well be referring to Sylvie Lushton, aka Enchantress, no, not her, an Earth teenager who was created and imbued with powers by Loki himself.
This is Analyst 1182E, reporting a code 000.
Somebody just bombed the sacred timeline.
So after Lady Loki triggers her charges, we see all the times and places she's bombed on the sacred timeline, including Vormir, Asgard, Titan, Xandar, Ego, Sakaar, and several places on good old Earth. And we can't wait to see where the show goes with all of this, so make sure to visit us next week for more Loki Easter eggs, and until then, I'm Greg Elliott, this is Screen Rant, and we'll see you next time.